Hi, everyone. You are listening to Retail Shift, a field guide to retail success. This is a podcast produced by Merchant Method, and I'm Chris Gio. I'm thrilled that you're here. I'm a retailer and a maker. I'm a merchant like you. I'm a small business owner and a small business consultant. I'm also a recruiter and a hiring manager. Earlier this year, as you may know, I was working with a wonderful writer who helped me dust off my field observations, my field notes, important lessons from my time in the industry that really helped shape Merchant Method, that make Merchant Method my method, and that make me me. And this podcast season is dedicated to reflecting on, reapplying, contextualizing these important observations, really to help inspire you, to re-inspire me, to shed new light on this industry that is in this process of massive transformation. And it's my hope that you pair these episodes with our retail trend reports so that you can continue to unlock more retail profit and do it with more ease. Yesterday, I spent some time getting my paperwork in order. I have a home office, I have a home studio where I record my trend reports, and I have a lot of paperwork. This paperwork is a mix of professional mementos that go all the way back to my very first job, as well as pretty standard regulatory record-keeping paperwork. Now, some of these records are related to job titles and salary history. Others are related to receiving and giving performance evaluations. I have great developmental tools in there, fantastic professional development notes. And before yesterday, I spent a few hours passing through all of that paperwork a few times. The first time it was quick. I knew what to recycle. I knew what was sensitive enough that needed shredding, kept a pile. I did that a few times before I hit yesterday. And then yesterday, I put that information that passed through the rounds of filtering into a keepsake file box, and I relabeled all the tabs on each of the file folders. And it was really interesting to ask myself, someone who is deeply fascinated by understanding human behaviors. I think that's inherent in us as merchants and retailers, but also someone who's deeply fascinated in understanding why in the world do I do the things that I do? Why am I even caring about this past information? Some of it that goes way back to a really long time ago, particularly as a self-employed business owner. I asked myself, is it because I'm a proud person? And I know that I'm a proud person. I'm proud of my accomplishments. I'm proud of my work, but I'm not egotistical. So why am I saving these things? Is it because I'm a sentimental sap? And yes, I am very, very sentimental, but I'm also not precious about things. When you work in our industry, the speed is way too fast. When you are an entrepreneur, you cannot be precious about your ideas and your work. You can shepherd it to a point that you just need to let them go. Is it because I feel like without proof of those accomplishments, I'm somehow less than I say that I am? I mean, I dived deep and I asked myself those questions, and that's not the case because, LinkedIn. So I'm going through all of this valuable information. It's, sentimental, but there's also great content. And it gave me the opportunity to, I've been doing this over the course of a few weeks, but really yesterday it gave me the opportunity to really contextualize a very important lesson around hiring for a role. Not just any role, but for a role that is entrepreneurial, that might be experimental. Maybe it's a test. Maybe you're hiring for a startup type of work environment. And this nugget of wisdom I learned when I rejoined the workforce. So you may not know, but I was a stay-at-home mom for a year and a half. I stayed at home with my oldest son. And after about a year and a half, I received a message with an invitation for an interview. I was thinking about rejoining the workforce and I got this invitation. And though I hadn't applied for a job at that particular company, somehow my resume made its way down the West Coast and back up to the Pacific Northwest again. So I said yes, and I was interviewed by two leaders at this particular brand. And one of those leaders I vibed with really, really well. And the other one seemed very skeptical of me and very skeptical of my commitment to that brand. So much so that I felt like I got myself on some kind of like list of people never to be employed by this company. But I was happy and maybe just a teensy bit surprised to be invited back for further interviews. So I passed that first interview. And for any stay-at-home moms, the process was pretty smooth with preparation. So, I just brushed up my resume. You follow a great prep book. You just do your diligence, and that helped me. Ultimately, I was hired into the company and would have 3 roles within that company. And ultimately, my last role with them, I ended up working for one of those interviewers who I sensed was really skeptical of me. The one I thought didn't like me. And she was a wonderful director and a very influential mentor to me. And one day we were meeting, strategizing our way through some report templates for a seldom talked about experimental project for the company. And, the reporting was my responsibility. And it was pretty ad hoc. It worked. It told us the information we needed to know. But it became very, very clear quickly that we needed something else in addition to what I was capable of doing myself. Something more. Something with additional financial matrix, because though we were a solid team of 2, joined by another solid team of 2, that team was working alongside us strategically. There were many, many high-level leadership, executive type eyes on our project. And I needed to add more metrics. It was a way of analyzing the business I hadn't had much experience with. But that was my role. And knowing what I knew about the business, what I knew about the potential of how I can stretch myself, as well as the limitations I had at the time, knowing what I knew about the stakeholders of that project, my director and I began operating in a really different way. Just in that one meeting, it was a huge mindset shift for me. We were shaking up the status quo. We were standing up from any laurels we might happen to be resting on and asking ourselves a variation of this question that I'm sharing with you today. And my field observation for you, your retail shift is asking yourself, would you rehire yourself for the role that you currently have? Would you rehire yourself for the role that you currently have? And from that day forward, I often ask myself multiple times a month, would I rehire myself for this job that I have? And so this question really begs you to be honest with a self-assessment, with how you fit the role that you have. Now, this isn't meant to be self-deprecating. This isn't meant to be humorous. It's meant to be really, really broad. It's meant to be open and honest and thoughtful, to celebrate your successes and to be really honest about where you have opportunities. And in many, many of our cases, we ourselves are the owners and leaders of a business. And so I ask this of myself, and you're invited to ask this of yourself. Are you acting like the leader and owner of your business? Right now, every day, this week, this past month. Are you leading your business, or is your business leading you? Are you just getting pulled by momentum, or do you set the pace for the momentum? Are you clear about the direction you're going in? With your clarity provides clarity for others. If we don't have clarity as leaders, others are also unclear. Are you expressing that clear message to those who work with you or to those who buy from you? Do you have the skill set needed to lead success? And if you don't, do you know how to resource that skill set? Are you acting with purpose and passion? Are you acting on purpose and with intention? That's a lot of questions to ask when you are rehiring yourself. With every week, month, quarter, year that passes, you know so much more about your business. You know so much more about success. You know so much more about your customers. You know so much more in general. And if we don't take the time to reassess and reshape where we are as leaders and employees of the company, how can we make ourselves better? How can we professionally develop ourselves if we're not asking these questions? And whatever your answers are, however you choose to answer this, if you choose to free write, if you choose to think on this during your morning commute, ask yourself, do you like the answers to these questions? Would you indeed rehire yourself for the role? And if you don't like your answer, how do you put yourself in a position to rehire yourself, to woo the quote unquote hiring manager? And I invite you, recommit to be the leader of your business. As an entrepreneur and small business owner, it is the most important hire you'll ever make. You're in charge. Would you rehire yourself? And so I want to wrap up by sharing when I've rehired myself. And when I imagine I'll be asking myself these questions in the future, when I have a new client or have new customers, when I have a new product, when I engage a new vendor and proceed through their intake and diligence process, when I'm understanding where a project went wrong, when I'm hindsighting at the end of a quarter or hindsighting at the end of a major milestone, when there has been miscommunication and I'm working through the fallout of that miscommunication, when I've achieved a goal and also when I've missed a goal. As the person who sets the culture and goals of the business, any time is a great time to rehire yourself. So thank you so much for listening this week. Here's how to make sure you follow along. And this is my holdover from Retail Trend Reports and my Ask of You, which is your homework assignment. Subscribe to Retail Shift on iTunes or wherever you listen to podcasts. You can find us by searching Merchant Method, Retail Shift. And if there is a nugget or a takeaway that you have after listening, please leave a rating or a comment. And if you have other people that want to join this crew of merchants, please share this podcast. I want to give you one last heads up. I'm taking a break this next week. In this process of rehiring myself, which I did as I went through all of my paperwork, I received 1 week of vacation and I'm going away next week to enjoy some much needed time off, but also to take a break in the middle of this holiday season preparation, because when I come back, we're all coming back strong and getting our arms around holiday prep. Very, very early holiday prep. So I will catch you in 2 weeks. Until then, enjoy rehiring yourself and thanks for joining me.